Regret is the only ghost that truly haunts a house. The words linger in the air, hanging heavy as Arthur stands at the threshold of the workshop, his hands fidgeting with the edge of a broken sleigh bell. The bright lights of the modern control room flicker above him, casting sharp, cold reflections on the polished surfaces. He watches Steve across the room, busy with the machines that hum in perfect harmony. There's a calm efficiency to the scene, a sterile precision. But beneath it, there's something else, a quiet tension that has always been there, unspoken and unresolved. Arthur sighs, looking away, his fingers tightening around the bell, as if it might offer some comfort. He remembers, though not vividly, a time when his world was full of possibilities, when Christmas wasn't just a business, but a promise. He was once a child, wide-eyed, hopeful, his heart full of belief in the magic of the season, in the magic of his father. But today, he is just another cog in the machine, trying to keep up, trying to matter. His breath catches. The weight of the silence between them is suffocating. For a brief moment, the room fades, and he is transported back to a simpler time. The sound of snow crunching beneath his boots as a child, his father's rough hand on his shoulder, pushing him to do better, to be better. But there was no praise, only more work, more expectations. Arthur never realized, not then, that those moments were shaping him, that his father's absence in the emotional sense would become his reality, a quiet neglect that would seep into his own soul. He is aware now, the realization almost too painful to bear. He can still feel the coldness of the sleigh bell, the way it rang out so clearly in his youth, a sound that symbolized the joy of giving, the joy of believing. But now, that sound is hollow, like everything else. He looks back at Steve, whose back is turned, but in his posture, Arthur sees the same resignation, the same mask of professionalism that has replaced the warmth of their family bond. The tension between them isn't just in their silence, it's in the way they both wear their masks. They are both so far from who they once were, so far from the simple joy of Christmas that used to unite them. Arthur's body feels heavy now, the air too thick to breathe. The memories rush in, but there's no relief in them, just the harsh reality of what has been lost. He inhales slowly, the effort making his chest tighten. He doesn't know when the magic slipped away, when the love became secondary to the work. But he knows now. He knows that what was lost can never be regained, and that the regret will haunt him, quietly, forever. He looks up, meeting Steve's eyes for just a moment, before turning away again. There is no acknowledgement, no recognition, just the silent understanding that they both have been left alone in the same cold, unfeeling room. And for the first time, Arthur realizes that the magic of Christmas isn't something that can be fixed with efficiency or technology. It's something they've both forgotten, buried beneath years of silent sacrifice. The air in the workshop feels colder now, the hum of the machines almost deafening in its steady rhythm. Arthur's fingers tighten around the sleigh bell once more, the sharp metallic edge digging into his palm. He stares at Steve, who is engrossed in the task at hand, his brow furrowed, his movements swift and efficient, almost robotic. The contrast between them is stark. Arthur, still holding on to the remnants of childhood belief, and Steve, a man whose every action is a calculated step toward perfection, a man who has long since shed the idea of magic for the sake of control. Arthur can see it now, see the cracks in Steve's facade, the same ones he himself has been trying to hide for so long. But what hurts more is the realization that he's been ignoring the one thing that has always been there, quietly waiting for recognition. His father's legacy. The man who built this empire of Christmas joy but left behind a trail of emotional wreckage in his wake. Arthur thinks back to the Christmases of his youth, the endless preparations, the late nights of wrapping presents and checking lists, the unspoken understanding that he was doing it all alone. His father, the man who should have been guiding him, had always been too busy with his own responsibilities to offer more than a passing glance or a quick word of encouragement. The absence wasn't physical. It was emotional, a void that Arthur never had the courage to confront until now. He remembers the way his father's voice would echo in the cold workshop, sharp and demanding, never soft, never kind. Arthur would stand there, under the harsh light, working tirelessly, waiting for a smile, for a simple acknowledgement that he was seen. But there was nothing. Not then, and not now. Steve, in his quiet but powerful way, had become the mirror of that same legacy. Always working, always striving, but never truly seen. Arthur can feel the tension in his own body now, the weight of his past pressing down on him with every passing second. His shoulders ache, his heart feels heavy. He doesn't know when it happened, when the magic he once felt in his chest was replaced by the cold, unfeeling efficiency that now dominates their lives. He looks at Steve again, his heart sinking further as he realizes the extent of their disconnect. They are two sides of the same coin, each wearing a mask, each afraid to tear it off. For Arthur, it was always about proving that he could live up to the expectations, that he could carry the weight of Christmas on his shoulders. But now, he sees it for what it is, a burden. A legacy that has been passed down through the generations, wrapped in the guise of tradition and duty, but never once acknowledged as a shared pain. And so, the silence grows between them, stretching further and further, until it feels as if it might snap. Arthur's grip on the bell loosens, his hands trembling. He wonders if, perhaps, he's been trying too hard to be something he's not, to prove himself to a man who will never truly see him. And in that moment, the workshop feels smaller, colder, more oppressive. He takes a step back, his breath shallow as the weight of the past threatens to overwhelm him. But before he can retreat further into himself, he feels something shift in the air, a subtle change, a flicker of warmth amidst the chill. For just a moment, he allows himself to breathe, to feel the soft pull of something that once felt like hope. But it's fleeting, just as it always is. And he knows, deep down, that he is still trapped in the same cycle, waiting for a moment that may never come. The sound of the bell fades into the background, replaced by the low hum of the machines that still buzz around Arthur, who now stands frozen in place. His eyes trace the sleek, metallic edges of the workshop, the sterile environment that has come to represent everything he has come to resent. This place, this world of efficiency and perfection, was never what he had imagined Christmas to be. He had grown up believing that Christmas was a time for family, for connection, for joy. But here, all of that seemed lost, buried under layers of polished technology and impersonal tasks. Arthur's breath comes shallow as the weight of his realization presses on him. He has spent so much time trying to fit into a world he doesn't belong to, trying to meet expectations that were never truly his own. The subtle reminder of his father's indifference still lingers in his chest, like a sharp splinter that won't leave. His mind drifts back again, this time to the memory of his father, standing at the kitchen counter, eyes focused on a list, never once looking up at him. A silent question had always hung in the air between them. Was I enough? Arthur had worked tirelessly, wanting so badly to earn his father's approval, to be seen, to be loved. But the harder he worked, the farther his father seemed to retreat, buried deep in his own unspoken frustrations. The gap between them had grown wide, each passing year pushing them further apart. And now, standing in this cold, lonely workshop, Arthur realizes that all the years spent striving for a father's recognition have only left him with an emptiness that he can no longer ignore. His father's legacy, though rich in material success, was a hollow one. The lessons he learned were ones of duty, of obligation, but never of love. He had been taught to work, to provide, to do whatever it took, but never to feel. And now, standing here, Arthur's body aches with the weight of that silence. His shoulders are tight, his hands shaking, his chest tight with the pressure of years of unspoken words. The same words that his father had never said to him. Asterisk, I see you. I love you. You matter. Asterisk. Arthur looks across the room at Steve, his older brother, whose stoic expression mirrors their father's so perfectly. Steve's posture is rigid, controlled, as if every move he makes is calculated, as if every decision is weighed down by the need to prove his worth. And yet, despite his outward success, Steve is just as trapped as Arthur, just as much a prisoner of the same expectations that have haunted their family for generations. The weight of their father's absence in every emotional sense is something that both of them carry, yet neither knows how to speak of it. It's easier to hide behind their roles, to bury their feelings in the noise of the world around them. But today, standing here, surrounded by the remnants of the Christmas spirit they once knew, Arthur begins to understand something he hadn't before. The emptiness he feels isn't just his own. It's been passed down, generation to generation, through silence, through sacrifice, through unacknowledged love. And as the machines continue to hum around him, as the cold metal gleams in the harsh light, Arthur knows that this is his moment, his chance to break free from the cycle, to stop pretending that everything is fine when it never has been. Arthur stands motionless, his breath shallow, the weight of his own realization slowly suffocating him. The machines around him continue their relentless hum, but it feels as though everything has come to a standstill. The workshop, once a place of wonder and joy, now feels like a tomb, a place where dreams were buried long ago, entombed beneath the cold, metallic structure of duty and expectation. He can still hear his father's voice in his head, commanding, always commanding. He remembers how his father never spoke of love, never spoke of pride, only of the work, the task, the never-ending responsibility that always seemed to come before anything else. As Arthur's eyes fall to the floor, he remembers the countless times he had waited for his father to look at him, to acknowledge the work he had done, to say, even once, good job. But those words never came. What came instead was silence. It was as if the silence between them had become a language of its own, one that neither of them knew how to break. The weight of that silence had crushed Arthur, piece by piece, until there was nothing left of the boy who had once believed in the magic of Christmas. Now, standing here in this sterile, lifeless room, Arthur understands it all. His father had never truly seen him, never truly heard him. He had been too wrapped up in his own world, too consumed by the demands of running the business, that he had forgotten the most important thing of all, family. Arthur feels a knot in his chest, a tightness that comes from the realization that he has spent so many years running after something that was never truly within his reach. The idea of family, of togetherness, of the love that should have been at the heart of it all, had been lost somewhere along the way. And as the cold, unforgiving lights of the workshop flicker above him, Arthur finds himself facing the truth that he had been avoiding for so long. He had spent his entire life chasing the approval of a father who could never give it to him, who had never known how to give it. He had spent years trying to fill a void that was never meant to be filled by anything but love. Arthur's shoulders slump, his body giving in to the weight of his own sorrow. The bell in his hand feels heavier now, like a symbol of everything he has carried, everything he has lost. He wishes he could go back to the time when Christmas meant something, when he believed in the magic, when he believed that love was enough. But that time is gone. And now, as he stands in the place where so many of his memories have been forged, Arthur understands that the path forward lies not in seeking approval, but in letting go. Letting go of the pain, letting go of the need for validation, letting go of the belief that he has to carry the burden alone. He looks over at Steve, his brother, who is still focused on the task at hand, his face expressionless, his hands moving with mechanical precision. Steve, like Arthur, has been living in the shadow of their father's expectations, never able to escape the weight of the past. But Arthur knows now that it's time for both of them to stop pretending. The work, the tasks, the machines, they all pale in comparison to what truly matters. What matters is not the approval of a father who never saw them for who they were, but the love that they still have for each other, the bond that has always been there, even if it was never spoken aloud. Arthur takes a deep breath, feeling the tension in his body slowly begin to ease. For the first time in a long while, he allows himself to feel something other than the weight of expectation. He doesn't know what the future holds, but he knows one thing for sure. He is done carrying the burden of regret. Arthur stands there, the cold workshop now a backdrop to the whirlwind inside his mind. His thoughts race, tangled with the heavy weight of everything he's been carrying for so long. The silence between him and Steve feels different now, less like an insurmountable wall and more like a shared burden, one that has always been there, buried beneath the surface, quietly simmering until now. The realization crashes over him with a new intensity. All the years of trying to meet expectations, of chasing something that could never be caught. What had it all been for? His father's approval? A dream of family that had been built on false hopes and unspoken pain? He feels the depth of it now, the empty echo of those unfulfilled dreams vibrating through the walls of this sterile, cold place. For the first time, Arthur allows himself to feel the weight of the loss. The father who was never there, The brother who has always been just out of reach. The love that should have been there, but was never spoken aloud. He looks down at his hands, trembling slightly as he clenches the bell. The same bell that had once symbolized Christmas magic, now just a reminder of everything he's lost. The memory of his father's stern, unsmiling face flashes through his mind again, and the emptiness of it cuts deeper than anything he's ever known. How could it be that after all these years, after all the effort, he was still left with nothing but the echo of his own heartache? The years of sacrifice, the constant striving to be good enough, to prove that he deserved a place in the world, it all seems so futile now. Yet there's something else, something buried beneath the despair. Something that flickers quietly in the depths of his heart, a whisper of something real, something worth fighting for. The thought of his own son, the way he used to hold him in his arms and dream of a future filled with love, with connection. That dream isn't gone, not entirely. But it is fractured like a broken mirror, the pieces scattered across a floor that's been tread on for too long. His chest tightens as the weight of it all bears down on him once again. But this time, something feels different. Something is shifting. It's as though the years of pain, the years of struggling to be seen, are finally coming to a head, ready to explode into something new, something that might just be the beginning of healing. He takes a deep breath, the first real one in what feels like forever, and for the first time, he lets himself feel it all. The pain, the sorrow, the regret, but also the flicker of hope, the possibility that, maybe, just maybe, there's a way out. His gaze drifts to Steve, and for the first time, he sees his brother for who he truly is, not just the man who has always been the success, the one who has always followed the rules. Steve, too, has been trapped in this endless cycle of trying to prove something, to be something he's not, just as Arthur has. And in that moment, Arthur understands. He understands the weight Steve carries, the same unspoken pain that has been passed down between them like a family heirloom, one they never asked for, one that has shaped them into who they are now. Arthur's throat tightens, and the thought of it, of everything they've been through, threatens to break him. But as he stands there, with the weight of the past pressing in on him from all sides, he knows one thing. It's time to stop. Time to stop pretending that everything is fine, that the family is whole, that the wounds don't run deep. It's time to face the truth, no matter how painful it might be, and to finally begin the process of healing. The first step is realizing that he's not alone, that Steve, despite everything, is right there with him, carrying his own burdens, his own heartache. And for the first time, Arthur feels the stirrings of something powerful, not the crushing weight of regret, but the possibility of change. Arthur takes a slow step forward, the weight of the past still clinging to him like an unseen force. But now there's a shift, a moment of clarity that pierces through the fog of his confusion. His chest tightens, the emotional weight heavier than it's ever been, but there's a subtle strength growing inside him, born from the truth he can no longer deny. He glances over at Steve, who is still at the machines, his face expressionless, his every move still an echo of their father's unyielding discipline. But in the quiet between them, Arthur feels the truth rise, slow but unstoppable. Steve, the man who always seemed to have everything under control, the man who bore the responsibility of family without ever once showing the cracks in his armor, was just as lost as he was. Arthur's heart aches at the thought, the realization that they had both been running in circles, trapped in the same patterns, trying to fill the same emptiness. He remembers the long years of rivalry, of trying to outdo each other, always searching for approval, always trying to be something they weren't. But in the silence now, that familiar competition feels so distant, like a forgotten memory, lost in the vast expanse of time. Arthur moves towards Steve, his body hesitant, but his resolve growing. The machines hum, but they seem quieter now, less imposing, as if the world around them has slowed just enough for them to finally hear each other. As Arthur stands beside his brother, he sees the exhaustion in Steve's posture, the same weariness that has haunted him for so long. Steve looks up briefly, meeting Arthur's eyes for a moment before turning away, as if unable to confront the unspoken truth between them. And for the first time, Arthur doesn't feel the old need to fight, to prove himself. He doesn't feel the pressure to fix everything or make it right. Instead, there's just a quiet understanding, a realization that they are both just men, struggling to navigate a world that never seemed to allow them to be anything else but sons, always in the shadow of their father's legacy. The weight of that realization sinks into Arthur's bones, but there's a strange comfort in it. He no longer feels the need to carry the burden alone, no longer feels the need to be perfect, to be everything for everyone. For the first time in a long while, he feels the stirrings of something he thought he'd lost, peace. There's no grand gesture, no dramatic confrontation, just the quiet acknowledgement of the pain they've both carried, the pain that has defined their lives. And in this moment, Arthur knows that healing doesn't come from fixing the past, but from accepting it, from seeing the truth for what it is, and letting it go. He takes a deep breath, steadying himself, the air now feeling just a little bit lighter. As Steve turns back toward the machines, Arthur knows that this is just the beginning of a long road toward understanding, toward reconciliation. It won't be easy. It won't be quick. But for the first time, it feels possible. And as he looks at Steve, there's a flicker of something in his brother's eyes, something that wasn't there before, recognition. Not of what they've done, but of what they still can do, together. For the first time, Arthur feels a quiet hope, the kind of hope that comes not from expectation, but from the simple truth that they are both still here, still standing, still trying. And maybe that's enough. Arthur stands still, his mind swirling, the air thick with the weight of everything that's been left unsaid. The workshop, once a place of routine, feels different now, its sterile hum now a dull backdrop to the storm inside him. Steve stands by the machines, his back to Arthur, a mirror of the same tension that's been building between them for years. But something has shifted in the air. It's subtle, almost imperceptible, but it's there. The walls they've built between themselves, the silent expectations, the constant unspoken competition, it all feels like it's crumbling, piece by piece, as they both breathe in the same space for the first time in years without the need to measure each other's worth. The silence stretches, but it's no longer oppressive. Arthur takes a deep breath, his lungs filling with air that doesn't feel as heavy as it did moments ago. He looks at Steve again, this time with a different gaze. One that sees the pain, the same struggle, the same longing for something real that has driven them both for so long. Steve's eyes are distant, his jaw tight as he continues his work, but Arthur can see it now, the cracks in his brother's armor. He's been carrying the same weight, fighting the same battle, and for the first time, Arthur doesn't feel the urge to compete, to prove himself. He simply wants to understand, to reach out, to bridge the gap that has kept them apart for so long. There's a flicker of vulnerability in Steve's posture as he steps back from the machine, rubbing his hands together, his movements slow, deliberate. For a brief moment, Arthur wonders if this is the moment when everything can change, when they can finally face each other without the weight of their father's expectations hovering over them. Arthur takes another step forward, his heart racing now. He's not sure what he expects, but he knows this moment will define everything. They've both been living in the shadows of their father's legacy, and for so long, Arthur has thought that he was the only one suffering under the burden. But standing here, watching Steve wrestle with his own quiet frustration, Arthur realizes how wrong he's been. Steve isn't his enemy. He's never been. They've both been fighting the same fight, just on opposite sides, both craving recognition, both wanting to feel like they mattered in a world that has never truly given them the space to be themselves. The realization is both painful and freeing, a sharp breath of clarity that cuts through the years of confusion and regret. Steve turns slowly, his eyes meeting Arthur's, and for the first time, there's no mask, no walls, just two brothers, standing on the precipice of something new, something that might finally allow them to heal. The weight of their shared history hangs in the air, but it's different now. It's not an anchor that drags them down. It's a shared understanding, a silent acknowledgement that they have been through the fire together, and that, in some way, they always will be. Arthur doesn't know what comes next. He doesn't know if everything will change overnight, or if the road to healing will be long and painful. But for the first time, he feels hope. Not the hope of a perfect family, but the hope that maybe, just maybe, they can start again, not as sons seeking approval, but as men, finding their way back to each other. And as Steve looks at him, his expression softening just slightly, Arthur realizes that this, right here, is the beginning. The beginning of letting go of the past, of no longer needing to prove themselves, of finally, truly, being seen. Arthur stands in the stillness of the workshop, the hum of the machines now a distant background noise. His heart is heavy, but for the first time, it feels like the weight is something he can carry. The walls that have stood between him and Steve, between him and understanding, are no longer as imposing. They've both been running in circles, trapped in their own expectations and the echoes of a past that never truly let them be. But now, in this shared silence, Arthur feels a shift. He looks at Steve, who is still working, his movements more deliberate now, less mechanical. The old tension between them is still there, but it's different now, softer, almost fragile. It's the kind of silence that fills the space with possibility, not dread. Arthur exhales slowly, the burden of unspoken words lifting bit by bit. He thinks of everything he's carried, everything he thought he had to prove to his father, to Steve, to the world. He realizes now that it was never about the approval. It was never about being enough for anyone but himself. The years spent in the shadow of expectations have left their mark, but they've also shaped him into someone who can finally see what matters. It's not the tasks, the perfect Christmas deliveries, or the machinery that hums relentlessly in the background. It's the connections, the moments of quiet understanding, the willingness to be present with those who matter most. As he watches Steve, something inside him clicks. They are not enemies. They never were. They've both been carrying the same weight, the same pain, and for the first time, Arthur feels the stirrings of something different between them, compassion. Not pity, not a forced apology, but a true understanding of what the other has been through. Steve, always the stoic one, the professional, the man who never showed weakness, has been struggling just as much as Arthur. His own desire for approval, his need to be seen as more than just a replacement for their father, it's all been eating at him, silently, just like the regret that's been festering inside Arthur. But now, in the quiet space between them, there's a shift, a moment of acknowledgement. Arthur takes a step towards Steve, and for the first time, there's no urgency in his movement, no rush to fix, to change, to make it all right. He's not seeking anything from Steve, not asking for anything in return. He just wants to be seen, to acknowledge the shared pain that has shaped them. Both. And as he steps closer, Steve looks up, his eyes meeting Arthur's for the first time without the weight of old resentments, without the walls they've both put up. There's nothing said, not a word. But in that simple exchange, Arthur knows that they are finally starting to understand each other. It's not about fixing everything. It's not about making up for lost time. It's about allowing themselves to be imperfect, to acknowledge the hurts, the losses, and the mistakes. It's about finally letting go of the past and finding a way to move forward, together. Arthur's chest feels lighter, the ache of regret beginning to ebb away, replaced by something new, hope. The future, uncertain and untold, doesn't seem as daunting as it did before. He doesn't know what comes next, but he knows that for the first time, he is not alone in this. The path ahead is still unclear, but now, with Steve beside him, it feels like they might just be able to walk it, one step at a time. Arthur stands at the threshold of the workshop, a quiet stillness surrounding him now. The weight he once carried, that crushing burden of expectations and regret, has lightened. His gaze drifts to Steve, who stands a few feet away, staring at the machines but not really seeing them. The moment between them feels different, like a gentle shift in the air, the kind that hints at something new, something unspoken. Arthur realizes, in the silence, that they don't need to fix everything right now. They don't need to erase the years of missed connections or the pain of never being enough. What matters is that they are here, in this moment, together. They have finally reached a place of understanding, a place where the weight of their past doesn't have to define them anymore. Arthur steps forward, slowly, and for the first time, he doesn't feel like he's stepping into the shadow of someone else. He doesn't feel the need to prove himself, to chase after approval. He's simply here, standing beside Steve, both of them equally imperfect, equally human. There's no rush now, no urgency to make up for lost time. There's only the quiet peace of knowing that they've found their way back to each other. Steve looks over at him then, his eyes meeting Arthur's with something soft, something that wasn't there before. It's not a smile, Not a grand gesture, but it's enough. It's a quiet acknowledgement that they've both been through hell and back, and they've survived. That's enough. Arthur doesn't need anything more. He's found something he wasn't sure he would ever have: acceptance. Not just from Steve, but from himself. He's no longer chasing approval, no longer fighting to be something he isn't. He's finally at peace with who he is, with who they both are. And as the machines hum quietly in the background, Arthur realizes that this moment, this simple, quiet moment, is the beginning of something new. Not just for him and Steve, but for the legacy they carry. It won't be easy. It won't be perfect, but it will be theirs. And that's enough. With a deep breath, Arthur feels the weight of the past slip away, and for the first time, he's ready to step forward, not with the burden of regret, but with the freedom of knowing that the future is unwritten and it's theirs to shape.